abusia mi channel mi sanso mo akwa basonko so enfa mo channel so hada so ye be media gh abusia be srewa se enani de dikwani etwa channel so a ani de kwan so be so be jema hwe video si bi abode a wa subscribe wa like na wa bo aso a share ma for pension na be tie no anya bi atie abusia eye Afront, yes, the minority leader. Honorable Afront. Abusia Speaker Baben a charge for a contempt of a parliament. Nabusia we dey ma mekasa wan pese yakone kotie nsunsu anso abusia ewo a ye Afront so na se wie na se won adwenkyere bia abomode na ya kire ya adwen be hye no nso e dey ma se ha e da so ye abusia be media je bo dey subscribe like na bo ahima for person bi atie no enya bi entie yenkone kotie nsem no mu chese nsem aba abonte fa Afront so abusia na chese wo hwe se na no masi kwa betumi akọ eye suspension allegedly o de mama yentie chese enkomo ni mu ye pa emra.
Now that has been referred to that Afront has been referred to the Privileges Committee. What happens next? Dennis Poberwadam, what do we know? What happens next after this? After today? Quick one.
Well, so the committee now is seized with that mandate to look into the matter. The Speaker has given them the things to look out for, including even verifying the facts of the circumstances and eventually also making some recommendations. But what we do know from the law, and in fact from their own standing orders, is to the effect that, this is one of the possible outcomes if on the other side, for some reason, he's indeed found to be in contempt of Parliament. These are some of the things that they can do. When you look at Order 36 of the Parliament Standing Orders, it says that if a committee of privileges finds a member in contempt or in breach of privileges, Parliament may reprimand that member. It may suspend the member for up to 9 months, and it has the power to also extend. Now, when it comes to suspension, that yes, a suspended member, that's the effect of the suspension on a member. That member will immediately leave and stay out of Parliament. That member will forfeit all allowances for the suspension period, and that person has equivalent salary deductions if the person is also a minister, a deputy minister, or a deputy speaker. Now, when it comes to expulsion, this expulsion can only be valid if a 7-day notice of the motion to expel the person is given, and that this is supported by 2/3 majority of members. So, of the many things that a 2/3 majority can do, this is one of the instances that you can use those numbers for this particular purposes.
I see.
So yes, these are some of the things that can happen in the event that a member of Parliament is found to be in contempt of Parliament. But of course, the committee can also return to forgive him, as we have seen in the past in the 8th Parliament, when some members were found, adverse findings were made against some members at the Privileges Committee, but at the plenary they decided to forgive them in respect of absenteeism and the like.
That's Kennedy Japong, and also you have Joseph and the likes as well. But you know what? It's one that we'll keep an eye on and see how at the Privileges Committee of Parliament. But this is Ghana Tonight. We're going to go for this quick break. When we're back,
country to all free senior high schools in the country, so that learners can have access to digital tools. I'm told that deployment of that is around 980,000. We are through Get Fund supporting the distribution across the country. But my attention this morning, Mr. Speaker, was drawn to the fact that many of the devices are not customized, and the students in the chamber. Honorable members, it's therefore too much premature to say that the Honorable Matthew Yindam is disqualified from entering and participating in the proceedings of the House, because this period still falls within the 7 days mandatory stay of execution of the order. Honorable members, this is not a declaratory order. It is an executive order that was delivered by the High Court. And so the honorable member is right to have been in the House yesterday and to have participated in the proceedings.
Honorable members, as I indicated, I had a second job to do, and that had to do with the ruling. The ruling is in respect of the complaint of contempt that was brought against the minority leader, Honorable Osahin Alexander Afenyomarkins, member for Efutu and minority leader of the House. Honorable members, on Tuesday, 11th November 2025, this House received a formal complaint under Order 6 and 33 from Honorable Mahama Ayarga, Member of Parliament for Boku Central and Majority Leader. The complaint alleges that Honorable Osahin Alexander Afenyomarkins, Member for Efutu and Minority Leader, has engaged in conduct which, if substantiated, may constitute contempt of Parliament and a breach of parliamentary privilege pursuant to Orders 30 and 31(0) of our standing orders. The complaint arises from events said to have occurred during the sitting of the ECOWAS Parliament in Port Harcourt, Rivers State, Nigeria, from 28 September 2025. According to Honorable Ayarga, Honorable Afenyomarkins attended that session of the ECOWAS Parliament in contravention of a duly adopted resolution of this House, which excluded his name from Ghana's delegation to that regional parliament. The complainant asserts further that this conduct amounts to an affront to the authority and dignity of Parliament, and accordingly invites the Speaker to refer the matter to the Committee on Privileges and Immunities for inquiry and recommendations to the House. Honorable members, as I indicated at the close of the Majority Leader's submission that day, the standing orders prescribe the procedure to be followed when allegations of contempt or breach of privilege are raised. It falls to the Speaker, in the first instance, to determine whether the facts disclosed in the complaint established a prima facie case warranting referral to the committee. Members recall that I deferred my ruling to the next day, and that was to be Wednesday, 12 November 2025. However, the pressures of business on the order paper made it impossible to deliver the ruling on that day. I am now in a position to do so. In considering this matter, I have reflected the standing orders and the relevant constitutional and statutory provisions governing 1, the authority of Parliament, 2, the binding force of parliamentary resolutions, and 3, the scope of Parliament's contempt jurisdiction. What is the nature and effect of a resolution of Parliament? Honorable members, a resolution of Parliament is a formal act through which the House expresses its collective will on a matter properly before it. Once adopted, a resolution becomes a binding decision of the House until it is rescinded, suspended, or varied in accordance with the standing orders of the House. A resolution, therefore, has continuing effect, and the Speaker, as the presiding authority, is bound to give effect to it. While the Speaker may clarify the scope or meaning of a resolution, he cannot amend, modify, or disregard it unilaterally. Honorable members, this principle reflects the doctrine of collective responsibility. When contempt of Parliament refers to any act or omission that obstructs, impedes, or undermines Parliament in the performance of its functions, or which affronts its dignity, or tends either directly or indirectly to obstruct, impede, undermine Parliament in the performance of its functions, or affront the dignity of Parliament. Parliament's power to address contempt is inherent in its constitutional statute. Seems like Order 30 of the Standing Orders and Section 26 of the Parliament Act 1965, Act 300. Honorable members, the jurisdiction to sanction contempt is not limited to acts committed within the chamber. The relevant test is whether the conduct, wherever it occurs, has a direct or indirect tendency to obstruct, diminish, or bring Parliament into disrepute or ridicule. Parliament may therefore exercise its contempt jurisdiction over conduct occurring outside the presence of the House, where such conduct undermines the institution's authority, impairs its ability to give effect to its decisions. Honorable members, I note that the specific instances of contempt listed in the standing orders, such as disorderly behavior, deceit, or disobedience of an order issued by the presiding officer, do not expressly identify non-compliance with or disregard of a resolution as a distinct ground of contempt. A resolution, as earlier observed, is a decision of Parliament, not an order of the Speaker. There is therefore no express provision making its breach a stand-alone category of contempt. However, Section 26 of Act 300 makes clear that the enumeration of contempt grounds is not exhaustive. Parliament retains the right to treat as contempt any act that impedes its functions or affronts its dignity. Order 31A similarly contemplates conduct, whether specific or general, that brings Parliament into disrepute or undermines its institutional authority. It is within this broader category that the present allegation must be assessed. Honorable members, it is useful to consider what constitutes an affront to the dignity or authority of Parliament. Orders 30C and 31 prove directly or indirectly brings Parliament into disrepute or which undermines its authority, reputation, or dignity may amount to contempt. These capture behavior that, while not obstructing proceedings, undermines Parliament's standing, coherence, or credibility. An affront to the dignity or authority of Parliament may arise where a member's conduct A. challenges or disregards a valid act or decision of the House. B. diminishes the institutional authority of Parliament or the Speaker. C. undermines public confidence in the discipline, unity, or dignity of Parliament. Or D. brings Parliament into disrepute before state organs or external bodies. Unlike other specific grounds of contempt set out in the standing orders, this category focuses not on the place where the act occurred, but on its effect. Conduct that conveys the impression that Parliament's decision may be ignored without consequence qualify as an affront to dignity, even if committed outside the presence of the House. Democratic experience across the world teaches that institutions endure not by their formal design alone, but by the conduct of those entrusted with them. The strength of this House, therefore, rests not merely in its constitutional design, but in the consistent respect members accord to its decisions and processes. Honorable members, having reviewed the complaint, the standing orders, and the governing principles, I am satisfied that the matter raised prima facie implicates the dignity and institutional integrity of this House. Pursuant to Order 34.1, I therefore refer the matter, the complaint lodged by the Honourable Member for Boko Central and a majority leader to the Committee on Privileges and Immunities for examination, inquiry, investigation, and report to the House. The committee is directed to 1. Ascertain the relevant facts giving rise to the complaint, including the actions taken by the House and by the Honourable Member concerned. 2. Review those actions taken within the framework of our standing orders and the applicable protocols of the ECOWAS Parliament. 3. Determine whether the conduct, if established, constitutes contempt of Parliament or a breach of privilege under Orders 30 and 31A. And 4. Make appropriate recommendations to the House for its consideration. In conclusion, honourable members, whatever our political differences, the authority of Parliament rests on a shared commitment to respect its decisions and uphold the integrity of its processes. Allegations that a member has disregarded a decision of this House must therefore be examined with fairness, constitutional fidelity, and a clear regard for the institutional independence